Hello students, today we are going to discuss about block 3 unit 8, that is company secretary. What is this company secretary? We all might have come across about chartered accountant, CMA, ICWA and CS. How and in what way these are playing a different role in any organization with respect to the framing the policies, rules, regulations and its implementation. Anyhow, we have directors, managing directors who looks after the company. Then what is the importance of a company secretary in any organization? So let us understand today who is company secretary, what is their role in the organization, what do they do apart from the managing directors and the supervisors, what is the extra work they do and what is the importance given to them in any organization, and they are professionals. Okay. So now let us look about company secretary introduction part. If you look at here, they work for the effective management and administration. Why? Because in any organization we require to work smoothly without any disturbances. In order to have that, we need to have effective management and also administrators. We all think that we have a management which is managed by a board of directors. So board of directors will manage, whereas company secretary will administer. Administration part, what to do, who will do, what they are doing, and who will look after that, whether this work is done or not, that is done, look after by the board of directors. And in any organization or in any company, company secretaries plays a vital and a key more important role in the incorporation of any company. So let us understand why they are called company secretaries and from where this word has been derived and defined. So secretary is a Latin word derived, that is called secretarius, which means notary or a writer. It means he is the person to whom the secrets are entrusted. So he is the person, he or she. So don't get me, I am not biased. So it may be he or she who looks after the organization, and he is the actual person on whom we can trust them. The secrets of the organizations are kept with the company secretary. So secretary means a company secretary within the meaning of section 2 subsection 1 and subclause C of the Company Secretaries Act 1980. So we have an act which is 1980 Company Secretaries Act. According to this, we have a definition, that is, it includes any other individual possessing the prescribed qualifications and appointed to perform the duties which may be performed by a secretary under this act, or any other ministerial or administrative duties. So this is the definition given by the act, that is section 2 subsection 24 of the Companies Act. So normally who is company secretary? Then according to this definition, any person who is having prescribed qualification. Whoever with BCom or MCom cannot be the company secretary and they cannot act as a company secretary. It is mandatory that they have to complete the qualification which is company secretary course. Then only, that is the meaning here, prescribed qualification, and they are appointed to perform certain duties which may be performed by a secretary according to the Ministerial Act and administrative duties. So it's very specific mentioned in this act about the company secretary. This is what the definition which we can derive from this given by the act. So now look at what actually definition reveals to us. It is very vague meaning to us. So if we, from that definition, we can get few characteristics of company secretary. Let us see what are the characteristics that can be derived from the definition which we have discussed. The first one is, who can become a company secretary? An individual person. Only an individual person can become the company secretary. And only by becoming an individual can they become the company secretary? No. Apart from individual, they should have requisite qualifications. And so, what are that we can derive? He should be an individual and he should have been requisite qualification and also perform ministerial or administrative duties and not managerial duties. Managerial duties are done by whom then? Managerial duties are done by the managers or board of directors, but administrative duties are done by the company secretary. So, that is the reason we are calling them as company secretaries are the eyes, ears and hands of the organization, whereas directors are brain of the organization. Why? Because they put their brain and they try to frame rules, policies and regulations of the organization, but company secretary is the person who looks after that, always watching with their eyes, ears and hands, and that is the meaning we have derived from the definition, and that is the thing we are calling them as eyes, ears and hands of the organization, and directors are the brains of the organization. So, directors, what do? They do frame the policies of the company, and this what the secretary is doing then? Secretary means company secretary. Okay. So, directors frame the policies and secretary executes or implements them. That is the work of a company secretary. So, what company secretary is doing? Whatever the rules and regulations that are formed by the or framed by the director, that is the duty of the secretary to look after whether they are executed and implemented. This is what, and these are the different characteristics which can be derived from the definition. Appointment of a company secretary. We have derived different characteristics from the definition. Then who are going to appoint company secretary? Who can appoint the company secretary? Whichever small business or small venture can have company secretary? No. We have certain rules and regulations. We have certain criteria to be appointed as company secretary, and only in certain companies only they can be appointed. So, what is that requisites? If you look at here, the first point is paid up share capital. So, as we all know, we have capital is of different types. Yes, authorized, issued, subscribed, called up and paid up share capital. So, if the company's paid up share capital is 5 crores or more, then only that company can appoint a whole time company secretary, means full time like an employee they can appoint a company secretary. And a company secretary is appointed by how they will be appointed? Okay, whichever company is having 5 crores, no, it is not like that. They have to be appointed by passing a special resolution in the board of directors meeting. Then it will be decided for the appointment and approval will be taken from the shareholders and resolutions will be passed in the general meeting. And he shall not hold office in more than one company except in its subsidiary company at the same time. Means, for example, X company has taken or appointed the company secretary in their organization. In that case, he has to work for that company only. The other time or other part time he cannot work for some other company. He has to restrict himself to only one company. Then, for example, if that X company is having Y and Z as subsidiary companies, in that case the company secretary can work for that company also. Why? Because they are the subsidiaries of the actual company. So, what is the appointment? Any company having 5 crores or more paid up capital, they can appoint a whole time company secretary, and that too by passing a special resolution in the board of directors meeting. And apart from this, they cannot work in any organization apart from this company, but they can work if the particular company is having any subsidiary companies. Now, the first secretary of a company is nominated by the promoters of the company and his name is stated in the articles of association. Okay, we are going to select them, that is after company has been started. if the company is at the starting stage, then who is going to appoint? Why? Because we will not have till that time, because the incorporation of company, we may not have any board of directors, we may not have particular shareholders, then who is going to appoint him? In that case, the promoters, as we all know, promoters means the person who is initiated or who took the pain to start the business. Yes, they are the promoters. So, the promoters has the every right to appoint the first company secretary of the company. So, whenever the promoters has taken their name, because it is at the incorporation stage, at that stage the company secretary name will be mentioned in the articles of association. And why? Because this has been appointed before registration. The company comes into existence when the company is incorporated, when they get the certificate of incorporation. So, before registration, whatever it has been taken, in that case his name will be mentioned in the articles of association as well, that is before registration. Next, his appointment should be confirmed at the first meeting of the board of directors after the company has been incorporated. See, as we are telling that before the incorporation, if the company secretary is appointed, in that case his name will be mentioned in articles of association, but as soon as they get the incorporation certificate, when the board of directors meetings takes place, at that time the resolution has to be passed and his name has to be mentioned. So, whoever the company secretary is so appointed, they must give their consent that okay, we are ready to work, okay, I am accepting the proposal given by the promoters or the proposal given by the board of directors or the proposal given by the company, I am accepting it. That acceptance has to be given in the form of written form. So, the details of his appointment should be submitted to the registrar of companies if the company is listed. So, promoter is taking his name, once they get the incorporation, they have to mention it in the board of directors meeting. Later what they are doing, the company secretary has to give his consent, that is his acceptance. If everything is done, this name has to be submitted to the register of companies and it should be registered. And wherever that particular company, as I said X company, all that X company shares, wherever in whichever stock market they are listed, in every stock market the shares are listed, in that place his name has to be mentioned. That is mandatory. That so X company secretary is A. Whichever stock market like NSE, BSE or whichever stock exchange the shares are listed of that particular company, his name has to be given. Now then, what are the qualifications? So, we have seen the definition of secretary. Next we went appointment of secretary. Now, we are moving to the qualifications of company secretary. So, the qualifications, they are being prescribed by the Act, that is Company Secretary Act 1980, and after the appointment of company secretary, they are qualified into the following, that is, we have two types of qualifications. The first one is statutory qualification and the next one is professional qualifications. Let us see what are statutory qualifications and what are professional qualifications. If you look at here, statutory qualifications are such qualifications which are mandatory for a person to act as a company secretary. So, these are mandatory. Whoever wants to be a company secretary of particular company, they have to fulfill these qualifications. They should be the membership, they should have the membership form from the Institute of Company Secretaries of India, and also they should be the membership form from Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and membership form Institute of Cost and Works Accountants of India. So, these are the statutory qualifications where he has to be the membership for these three institutes, that is Cost Accountants, Chartered Accountant and Company Secretaries Institute. This all three institutes he should be the member. Next, and also postgraduate in company secretaryship awarded by any recognized university in India. So, they should have completed even their post graduation in the company secretaryship and also degree in law. Why? Because a company secretary is a law which talks about the rules, laws of that company. So, the degree in law or corporate laws, either they should have that is bachelors of law or corporate laws awarded by any recognized university. And above all, what he should be? He should be an individual. So, first, as we all know, he should be individual and he should be the membership for all the 3 institutes. He must have qualified, he or she must have qualified their post graduation in company secretaryship and bachelor's or degree from law or corporate laws. If they are having, these are statutory laws, means mandatory laws, without which they cannot become the company secretary. Now, let us see then what are the professional qualifications. Okay. So, a company secretary is required to process the following professional qualifications. So, that was statutory laws and these are the professional qualifications. If you look at here, the first one is sound education. Sound means not the sound, means whatever qualifications you are acquired, whether bachelor's or post graduation in corporate laws or company secretaryship. In that case, you should have a good percentile or good percentage where you should have got good merit result and good knowledge of all the courses whatever you have completed. That is called sound education. Next, ability to make sound judgments. See, only by having or acquiring some knowledge does not mean that you are having spontaneous decision making or you are giving these spontaneous decisions or problem solving or thinking situations. No, it is not like that. So, whenever you talk about professional qualifications, apart from the education, you should have ability to make sound judgments, whatever the judgment, because you are a company secretary, you are going to administer them. You are going to look after whatever the rules, regulations are framed by the board of directors, that has to be implemented. So, when you are having that much highest post in any organization, because the position or the profits or the performance of any company now depends upon the company secretary, because even the management is taking advice from the secretary because they are having law knowledge. Any contract, whenever they are entering some contract, they will even take the legal advisory from the company secretary. So, you should be having such a capability or the ability, whatever situation it is, in few seconds or within seconds or a blink of eyes, should be able to take sound judgments. Why we are calling sound judgments? Why? Because whenever any judgment is done, it should not cause any loss to the organization or it should not make any troublemaker for the organization. That is the reason we are calling this qualification should be there. Next, knowledge of office organization and business methods. See, if you are only acquiring the knowledge of subject, expertise in subject, does not mean that you are good at administration, because everyone whoever acquires knowledge will not be a good administrator. So, here you should have office organization, how to implement your knowledge in office organization and also business methods. We have different business methods to take decisions. So, you should have that skill to implement in the organization. Next, knowledge of various laws. For example, if you take myself, if I am a lawyer or an advocate, if I work only for the civil cases, I will be having I will be updating my knowledge only in civil cases. I'll not try to improve or not try to explore myself for the criminal cases or criminal law. So, what is happening? I am confining myself only to the civil cases, yes, but being a company secretary, you cannot confine yourself to only particular laws. Why? Because we have labor laws, we have industrial laws, we have compensation laws, yes, mercantile law, company law. So, like this we have different laws where the organization works and the organization needs in every step of the decision making. In that case, being a company secretary, we should be having all the knowledge in various laws that are required for any organization. Next, knowledge of accountancy and taxation. See, that is the reason whenever whoever takes, if you just browse also, you will find it. The subjects that are dealing with company secretary, you will come across all the subjects almost related to BCom and also the law. Why? Because being a company secretary, you cannot only, you are not a legal advisor, yes, you have to do all round work. In that case, you cannot confine yourself to laws. You have to have the knowledge of accountancy and also taxation, because the laws are very much different when you talk about accounts and taxation. Tax perspective is totally different and accounts perspective is totally different. And being in an organization, it is our responsibility to implement all the laws according to different taxation laws as well as accountancy laws. And even you should have the civil laws, rules and regulations. So in that particular case, being a company secretary, we should have an update and acknowledge of accountancy and taxation, and also knowledge of economics, banking and finance. Why? Because the company will be always dealing themselves in taking loans from the different banks. And also why? Because the economy impact will have in the organization. Why? Because during the, if you have observed during the COVID 2020 and 21, in that period the economy was under losses. Yes, because of the many of the companies were shut down and many people were unemployed. So whenever this situation takes place, it's a duty of company secretary to look after what he has to take, what is the rules they have to follow, because after post COVID there is a lot of change in banking sector also. Why? Because banking sector, now we have fintech, where insurance has been entering into the banking sector, and also we have like cloud computing. Yes, so these are different things where the banking sector has been changing day by day, and also even finance sector. So being a company secretary, we should have the knowledge of banking, economics and finance. Next, impressive personality. Personality does not mean that dressing well and grooming yourself. No, it's not like that. Impressive personality means whenever you speak some words out of your mouth, it should be like, yes, it's going to have impact in the organization. In such case, so these are all the professional qualifications where, like personal, statutory qualification and professional qualification. Statutory means where you have to mandatorily, you should have some graduation or certificate, whereas professional qualifications, apart from that, these are an extra qualifications. Being an individual, it has to be exist in any person. So next we have disqualifications. So now we were talking about qualifications, now we will move to the disqualifications. So let us see what are the disqualifications for a company secretary. The following persons are disqualified for being appointed as company secretary. There are certain persons who cannot be appointed as a company secretary. Okay. Under that, the first one is person of unsound mind, means who are like little bit lunatic, or what we call idiots, or what we call mad, means who cannot behave equally. Every 15 days their mindset changes, or every 15 days they cannot be on their own word. They are called unsound mind people. They cannot be appointed as a company secretary. Or a person who is adjudged as an insolvent or bankrupt. It means if any person who is bankrupt, insolvency petition we call IP, the person with zero amount in their account, when they go for IP petition in the court, or insolvent or bankrupt, that persons cannot act as an company secretary. Next, a person convicted by the court of law for any offence, means any person is having any case on them in the court, that persons also cannot act as a company secretary. And an order disqualifying the person for appointment as a company secretary by passing a court of tribunal. If tribunal court passes any law that this person cannot be appointed as company secretary, so that person will not be taken into the organization. And also following are the persons who are usually not qualified for appointment of a company secretary in public limited company. So there are certain persons below that who cannot be appointed as a company secretary for any organization. Under that, the first one is director of a company, auditor of a company. Auditor means, as we all know, practicing chartered accountant, we call them as auditor, and any other person who is not qualified to enter into a contract, or any director. So these are the three different persons who cannot act as a company secretary. So, as we have all discussed just now, what is the topic? That is company secretary, their appointment, their qualifications and their disqualifications. Okay. Let's once just revise it. Why? Because it's very important in our curriculum to understand. So, if you look at here, we have introduction where why? Because company secretary is an administrator. Who is company secretary? He is an administrator. And who is board of directors? They are managers. Management is done by the board of directors and administration is done by the company secretary. That is the reason we have even said who are the company secretary? They are the eyes, ears and hands of the organization. And how about the directors? Directors are the brains of the organization. Why? Because they put their brain, they keep their intellectual. For what purpose? For framing the rules and regulations of the organization. And what all I said about the appointment of a company secretary? Any company which is having a paid up share capital of 5 crores or more, in that case that company only can go for the appointment of a whole time means full time employee, that is company secretary. And how can be appointed? By passing a special resolution in the board of directors meeting and the shareholders have to approve it. Resolution will be passed, then they will be appointed as a company secretary. If they are appointed, they have to stick to that particular company only. They cannot work 2 companies, 3 companies or 4 companies. They have to stick them only to the one company. For example, if that particular company is having subsidiary companies, for example, A is the company, under A, B, C, D are the subsidiary companies. In that case, he can work as in the subsidiary companies, but he cannot go to the some other new company which is not a subsidiary company. What it mean? They have to stick them to that particular company only, and to that subsidiary companies means that if it is a parent company or if it is an holding company, under that whatever subsidiary companies are there, in that they work, but other companies they cannot move. And apart from this, promoters will appoint the first company secretary. Why? Because promoters, the word comes before the business has started. In that case, promoter can appoint the company secretary. Once the business is registered, at that time the board of directors will have to conduct a meeting, first meeting, and have to take his name for the incorporation, and his name will be written in the articles of association. And whatever if he is appointed, then he has to give his acceptance by written form, because acceptance appointment has to be, see if they have given appointment letter to me, okay, I cannot just go and join, no, I have to, like joining letter we can call, that I am joining and I am accepting their proposal and I am joining that particular company. In that case, the registration has to be done and his name has to be submitted to the registrar of companies, and this name, whose name then? The company secretary name, that has to be given or submitted to all the stock exchanges where the shares of that particular company are listed. And qualifications, as we have discussed, that qualifications of company secretary are statutory qualifications and professional qualifications. And when we talk about statutory qualifications, we have, there should be membership, he should be membership of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, Cost and Works Accountant of India, and also Company Secretary of India. These 3 institutes, they should have membership form and they must have completed their post graduation in the company secretaryship, and also degree from law or any corporate laws they might have completed, and above all they should be the individual, then only they can be appointed. If they are like any partnership concern or anything else, that will be not taken into consideration. And when we talk about the professional qualifications, as we have discussed about professional qualifications, they should have sound education, knowledge of taking particular decisions, knowledge about the accountancy and taxation, knowledge about economics, business, banking and finance, and also the knowledge about ability to make decisions, that is sound judgments, knowledge of office organization and business methods, and knowledge of various laws, knowledge of accountancy and impressive personality. So, these are called professional qualifications. this cannot be studied and getting any certificate. This has to be inculcated. We have to implement that we will get when you read, when you take part in different aptitude and reasoning skills, then you can get this knowledge. And even this, we have disqualification, a person of unsound mind and a person who is undedged or insolvent, means who are not of good sound mind, they cannot become the disqualification. And a person who is adjudged or who is become insolvent cannot be the company secretary. And also who is having any case in the court, they cannot become the company secretary. And also if any person is appointed but tribunal said no, they cannot be, in that case they cannot become the company secretary. And director of a company, auditor of a company and any other person, these all cannot become the company secretaries. And I hope you all have understood this. Yes, so we'll meet again in the next class. Thank you all.